The NFL has suspended Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase after the wide receiver spit at Steelers defensive back Jalen Ramsey. Now, Chase denied spitting at Ramsey, but the league determined the video evidence was sufficient to warrant that suspension. He did appeal it, so barring a successful appeal, Chase is going to miss Sunday's game against the Pats. But the Pats will also be missing a big piece, this one on defense. Patriots have been relatively lucky when it comes to injuries this season, but that changed with Milton Williams when he got hurt in the game against the Jets on Thursday night. The Patriots placed Williams on injured reserve after suffering a high ankle sprain. He'll miss at least the next 4 games. And today, Mike Vrabel discussed who will step up in the place of the injured defensive tackle.
Same guys that I think have been playing. Eric Gregory played in the game for the first time. I thought he battled and is continuing to improve on the practice squad, or excuse me, in the show team stuff and practice. And, you know, we'll hopefully get Josh back. And I would say that, you know, Farms is doing a great job as well on the show team and is ready to go in there at any point. So I think we're okay there as far as the depth. And, you know, we'll just have to keep working, keep moving along.
All right, a couple of other Bengals Patriots news and notes. Zach Taylor said Trey Hendrickson is doubtful for Sunday's game. He's got a hip and pelvis injury. And Mike Vrabel said on the some good news here for the Pats. He expects Kayshon Boutte and Ramondre Stevenson to return to practice on Wednesday. All right, we've had a full weekend to digest where the Patriots are and what is lying ahead for them. So welcome you into Arbella Early Edition. I'm Trenni Casey alongside our 2 Patriots insiders, Tommy Curran and Phil Perry. Kayla Burton is with us as well. Curran, let's start with Milton Williams because that's a big loss. It kind of, I think, came quietly on Saturday that they were going to put him on injured reserve. But this is a big loss. What is the trickle-down effect going to be like for that defense? Well,
fortunately for them, they already have a very good run defense, one of the best in the league in terms of yards per game allowed. So they have some wiggle room in terms of being able to withstand the loss of a player who's been an outstanding addition for them. Christian Barmore is an excellent player. I think that at the linebacker level, they have improved drastically from the first few weeks of the season. And I think who they go up against is a big determining factor in what they're going to have to confront. And they don't see what we would call an outstanding back until they face the Bills in a few weeks and James Cook.
Yeah, I think the pass rush part of it is what you'd miss the most. And he has been really good across situations. He's played more than he ever has in Philly, and I think he has responded to that increased workload. But when you have a pass rush that really relies on 2 edge defenders and Jamar Chase and Harold Landry, and Elijah Ponder started to play a little bit more lately, but it's really been those 2 guys. And then on the interior, Barmore and Williams, you take Williams out of the equation. He's 3rd in the NFL right now among interior defensive linemen in pressures with 26. So he has been a steady performer against the pass, and I just wonder if they'll miss that presence on the inside.
I think out of all positions, this may be the better position for a big guy like Milton Williams to be out, and we'll get to Jamar Chase, as we know, but even just not having their top receiver, that's a bit of a break here, a huge break for the Patriots. And you think of, okay, at least a minimum of 4 weeks for Milton being placed on IR, that at least maybe knocks at least 1 week compared to the 3. And yes, they'll have to go up against the Bills without Milton Williams. But as Phil and Tom just mentioned, just the depth there. You talk about Ponder. He was able to get that last stop on 3rd down just last week and on the Jets' last drive. And I just think that they have the depth there. So can they try to sustain it until Milton Williams gets back in action? I say yes.
Yeah, Phil, you guys have all talked about depth. Who does fill that sort of Milton Williams role? And does more fall on Christian Barmore's plate? And can he handle it?
I think you probably expect Barmore to step up a little bit more. He had his first sack this past weekend, so he was excited about that. I know he felt as though, having talked to him over the course of the season, he was getting close. You know, he gets a lot of attention on the inside. Both he and Williams see their fair share of double teams. So maybe you get a little bit more from Barmore, although he'll get more attention now. Kyrus Tonga is a guy, Tom, who's had a great year on the interior. He can play beyond just your classic 1st and 2nd down, obvious run situation types of situations. Corey Durden is another name that we should keep an eye on because he's played a little bit, even with Williams healthy, and I think he's been pretty productive, Tom, when he's been out there.
Is Josh Farmer a guy who could jump into that as well? Rookie?
Sure.
Yeah.
He's been hurt of late, but I felt right before his injury, he actually was coming along and it felt like he was being a little bit more productive with each week.
So to me, Josh Farmer, I think, would be a likely candidate. Even though he's a rookie, he did flash before he went down. So, but again, I look at it as, okay, how demoralizing, how damaging is losing Milton Williams at this juncture of the season? And I would say you're not going to try and, roll the dice and say, when can we lose a guy? this kind of matches up when you have a bye week coming up.
The other thing you have to note here, too, is the secondary has to step up. It can't just be those front guys. It can't just be even linebackers. Like, you need the secondary to fill those holes, make sure they can play some lockdown, whether it be press, whether it be whatever type of coverage. When you have your big man out, it takes everybody collectively to make stops. So the secondary has to be big.
Well, Kayla, you mentioned that we would talk about Jamar Chase. That secondary should have an easier time on Sunday if he's not on the field. And I have no reason to believe that the NFL is going to overturn this. If you saw the video, it is quite obvious that Jamar Chase,
you can see it,
spits in Jalen Ramsey's face.
Yeah, I look at it now. It's T. Higgins is the guy, right? And so it's Christian Gonzalez, you would think, on T. Higgins quite a bit. And you're making sure you're trying to prevent every explosive play that you can. But it just does free them up, if Chase isn't playing, to be a little bit more creative on the back end and maybe even be a little bit more creative with your blitz packages. Joe Flacco's not the most mobile guy in the world. So if you want to try to move him off his spot and throw some creative looks at him in terms of pressures, 5-6 man rushes, you should be able to do that with his best weapon out.
Yeah, they're seeing an historically bad defense in Cincinnati this week. I mean, they're one of the worst on record. And we have some stats we're going to get into in the Patriots Talk podcast that escape me at the moment. But through 9 weeks, I think it's okay. I think I have it. 9 straight weeks allowing 27 points or more, historically bad. So I don't know how many they're going to score, Cincinnati, based upon the guys we're talking about who are out. But the Patriots should put up numbers.
Yeah, it kind of feels, Kayla, like everything is coming up Patriots. And I don't want to diminish what they've done, but they got a break when they played the Buccaneers. They had some guys that you got a break with the Jets because they traded away their 2 best players. Now you're going to get a break with the Bengals. No Joe Burrow, no Jamar Chase, and probably no Trey Hendrickson.
And this is if that is the case, if no Trey Hendrickson is the case, this should be a statement win once again for the Patriots. Like, it shouldn't just be let's hang with them. Like, no, this defense, even with Milton Williams not being in the picture, they should show something. And Jamar Chase is a ridiculous asset. He's already on pace for 1,000+ yards on the year, already over 800+ receiving yards. He's averaging about 11 yards a catch. So you get a really big break for the Patriots defense if he is not out there. And we know what Gonzo is like when he's matched up against Jamar Chase. Even Chase saying previously that Gonzo is one of the best defenders that has ever covered him in games. So you get a big break with him, and I think it shouldn't just be a win, but a real statement win for the Patriots.
And Curran, we should also see could see Keyshawn Boutte and Ramondre Stevenson. Is it possible that they could maybe be cautious with those two and not have them return this week if they're just coming back to practice? Because at least on paper, or you have a look on your face like, no, you don't want to take any chances.
They're not good enough to do that. They're like, they weren't good enough, and we still haven't gotten to the black box on exactly what they were doing down at the goal line. And I continue to recoil at the notion that the Patriots would have tried to take a knee and save time last week because they knew they were going to score on the 4th and 1, or was it the prior week against Tampa?
Yeah, we got you. We know.
So to me, no, you use everybody when they're available. You're not a good enough team, and I would believe strongly that they would know that too. We have guys who are available. We're going to use them, and that's all said in light of Milton Williams last week saying he wanted to go back in and Mike Vrabel saying no, but it was a significant injury. I don't think that you would want to slow play the return of anyone because you need to keep pace with Denver and stay with them until Denver starts losing, which they will when you look at their schedule.
It's worth noting, too, even though they don't really practice leading up to a Thursday night game the way they would practice during a normal week, but they do have to give these projected injury reports. And both those guys, Boutte and Stevenson, were projected as being practice participants, although in a limited fashion, still on the field and practicing, had they been practicing in a normal fashion last week. So it doesn't feel like they're rushing them just to get to that point about whether or not they're ready and how long you should rest them.